Welcome, everybody, to the Friday RotoWire two-start podcast. Sitting in for Clay. Well, I'm not sitting in for Clay Link. I'm taking over the driver's seat for Clay Link with my guest co-host, Tristan Cockcroft from ESPN.
How you doing, Todd?
All right. I got to play a little music that Clay taught me how to play, and we'll be right back. That's smooth. All right.
If I can't sing, I got an air guitar to it.
Yeah, I know. I can't sing. I have my tonsils out, my wisdom teeth out. I couldn't sing before that. So what's the old joke? Doc, if after I have this operation, can I play the piano? Well, I don't see why not. Well, I couldn't play it before the operation. Anyway, so
classic Simpsons episode 2. So all right,
yeah.
You're right up my alley today.
There we go. I couldn't sing before. I can't sing now. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about, not sing about. I'm glad you could join me today. Clay's away, seeing some, doing some family stuff, which we keep, family first. Love that. Love that we can fill in for someone taking some family duties. So, we're going to do a two-start pitching. We're going to wait a little bit for that. What we are going to talk about, we sort of kind of talked about it off air a little bit, or alluded to it. I sent out a tweet this week, and I said, if you have a draft starting now, who's your number one pick? And only 60% of the respondents listed Acuna. I mean, if you had a draft, if we were doing a draft this weekend that started Monday, the league, would you still be taking Acuna? Number one?
Probably, because I'm such a slave to that stick to your preseason projections. I'll be honest with you, Todd, though. Mookie Betts, the guy we talked about, has made a pretty compelling case, especially picking back up the shortstop eligibility in our leagues. So
yeah, I think he is at 30%, and Juan Soto was at 10%, and then I think
Ellie De La Cruz.
No,
I'm surprised.
He's number one right now. I think I put in 3 choices, and then the fourth was nominate someone and put him in the reply, and Bobby Witt got a vote. So, Ellie De La Cruz is interesting. I'm going to do a first round draft with Eric Halterman on the MLB Network show for tomorrow. And what Eric and I are going to do is we're going to do a draft. One of the segments is going to be just doing a draft back and forth. Curious to see which one of us jumps on the Ellie De La Cruz bandwagon. We shall see. But De La Cruz is doing the stolen bases through the roof, right? And homers. Did you see Tom Tango Tiger's tweet about Ellie De La Cruz and how just terrible his splits are as a switch hitter?
I did not see that one.
Yeah, obviously you're familiar with Tango Tiger, yep. Tom Tango. So do the search. It's remarkable how, even as keeping the platoon edge as a switch hitter, how terrible he is against lefties. And maybe going the Cedric Mullins route of giving up switch hitting. It's just I just found that to be a little fascinating about how just the splits are just silly bad. Which
Todd, not good news for my sim team. And every time I remind myself I wouldn't take Ellie close to number one if I was doing a draft straight, I'm using last year's stats in that sim league, and it reminds me of how often the guy strikes out. It's good to know about the split.
Yeah, no, it's scary. This isn't to say. I mean, there's a reason you switch it, right? You can't, you as a lefty, maybe he's even worse. Who's to say? But and it's not. This isn't to say he's going to change. It was just, Tango Tiger, who's what? This era's Bill James on steroids or something. I don't know how you want to put it, but he's kind of the go-to guy for this sort of thing. And like I said, it was more informational, fascinating than it is. I'm going to change a ranking or anything like that. But anyway. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, I kind of gave you a quick heads up. Curious on your take on this, just because we come from a similar background of thinking or whatever. My tout table question this week. Oh, I just said mine. The tout table. Yes, it's mine. The tout table question this week was about in-season management and balancing the desire to have enough information to make a decision versus just jumping the gun on it or doing it, small sample decision, and or if I don't make the move, somebody else will. I'm going to constrain it with you a little bit, though. I know AL and NL only, it's what's available. I mean, who cares, right?
Yes.
And 10-team leagues, mixed leagues, your roster designed to churn. I mean, in an ESPN 10-team mixed league, if I was doing it, I'd only have 3 starters, which were on my team all year. And the rest of them I'd be churning. So you're built for it. It's like we're both in 15-team mixed tout. How do you balance wanting information on a hot start, a minor leaguer, Ronel Blanco, or someone like that, versus I don't believe in streaks. I'm not going to pick them up.
And we've saddled you with Ronel Blanco on the weekend again. You've seen, I think, all of his starts.
Mexico City. Oh, I should have been wearing a sombrero. I don't have a sombrero. I have a golden sombrero from Little League. But...
Oh, I've got one somewhere. Yeah, I probably do too, actually. No, I don't know. I was a walker and strikeout guy. I was 2 true outcomes, walks and strikeouts.
Okay.
To the question, yeah. Since, I dodged it, I guess, on the tout table. I did here because I didn't think my answer was all that exciting. I let my roster dictate it. I know the pieces that I put in order in the preseason, and if I have a problem at a specific position or category, that's usually where I make the move for the hot starting player. I'm not as worried about my competition, at least not in the first 3 weeks. We're at that stage now where I'd probably make some more dramatic changes, but I tend to let my roster's needs dictate it. I'm not going to make rash moves and, let significant guys I invested in the preseason go for a brief hot starter. The only exception to that is really what's different about the player. Has something changed? And if it's a pickup for you, is it something for the positive? And if it's somebody on your roster, and Todd, as well as I do with labor, where we have to keep our players we rostered in the lineup. We can't take them out unless they get injured or demoted. We got to make those decisions about that terrible pitcher who's just killing my ERA and WHIP. When do we let him go? When do we just cut bait, let him go? If I see something that's changed for the worse, that helps me guide that decision too.
That makes sense. I mean, we'll use the name Louis Varland. The Twins did me a favor in several leagues by sending him down. There, you can make a move at that point, but maybe it's all right. Some people are naming a specific stat they look at that they feel is more applicable in a small sample, and I think there are, but I think people are trying to force one of these stats into something that it's not. We have all this information now. We have to use it. No, we don't. It's still not applicable. Looking at the spin rates and the velocities and everything that StatCast gives us, the one that really gets me is people start to talk about stability points at this time of the year, which is not what people think they are. And that's what kind of bugs me more than anything, is that you see, I made this move because of strikeouts are stable after 60 plate appearances. No, they're not, right? They're within that 60, the luck skills 50-50, but the next 60 isn't necessarily the same as the previous 60. And that I used to think this. I wrote a piece for ESPN 10 years ago. I found the holy grail for rest of season statistics. I then had to say, guys, can we take that down? I didn't say that. But it was like, I hope that doesn't show up on Google anymore because it's not good.
The toughest part of what we do, I think I've written this before too, is that we are making judgments on, we complain about small samples. We rail on them all the time. Don't lean too much into small samples. We have to make decisions on small samples. It's the only way you're successful in fantasy sports, is that you've got to make decisions on it. So why, what, how? Cutter Crawford. Todd, as well as me, Cutter Crawford, when I watch him, new pitch, there's a reason for you to believe in what he's doing so far. Kevin Gausman, velocity's down. I mean, Gausman, it's kind of weird. I'm throwing a top name out there as somebody who concerns me, but the stuff is very clearly looking at the metrics, not quite so good. Those are the stories we need to be talking about. Guys who are, just off to an inexplicable hot start. Blanco himself, I'm not quite convinced yet. I like your Varland point. The changes I'd make are Louis Varland. The other is Brady Singer was a big guy of mine in the preseason.
Oh yeah.
You want to, and I mean, we're beyond that point now, but if you had wanted to in the past 10 days make that swap, yeah, sure. Because they were pretty close for me in the preseason in the first place.
Right. The Brady Singer, I think we both talked about in that last year he was stubborn. His bullpen coach was from Cleveland. His manager was from Tampa. A couple of organizations that are good with pitching, but yet he didn't heed to their suggestions until the end, and he carried him over. And he's a new guy now. Singer's the type of guy where I believe in these guys, and I say, you know what? I should, like Varland, I should have him on my bench for the first couple of weeks to see if I'm right. But then I'm scared. What if I was right and they're on my bench? So I ruined some teams' ERAs that I was wrong, and I have a couple that I was right, and but it's just it's frustrating that I did. It was, I think, Brad Keller was one previously that let's sit him, but live and learn, as it were. Let's see what we have. Do we have questions in the chat? McGill better than Adam Savale. Well, if we're talking, we got two McGills. One's a starter. One's a. What is that? Is that Jason Adam? Was McGill better than Jason Adam because they're both secondary closers? What's Milwaukee doing to us? I love the fact they're stealing, but Pat Murphy is driving us nuts with his closing situation.
Yep. We're back to where we were 3 years ago, where they're going to have 14 different guys not to save for them.
I mean, I think we both probably decided that, Uribe's no longer the closer. Payamps, he's the guy, except for yesterday when it was McGill. If it's Aaron Savali, if it's this Tyler McGill and Aaron Savali, I mean, to me, Aaron Savali, it's interesting how he's keeping his strikeout rate up with Tampa.
Mm-hmm. Neither McGill, by the way, is better than Aaron Savali.
Right. Well, that is true. But if you're speaking about Adam as the relievers, because Tampa's doing the same thing with Poche and Clevenger, and now Jason Adam, all mixing in the. To me, the best thing to do with those guys is the ESPN type leagues where you have daily moves, Monday and Thursday, just double and triple down on one team's relievers. Get a hold in to save. Try to do that. That's, to me, I don't know what else. That's the way to do it, I think, anyway. But use the closer chart, which has the most fatigued relievers, little highlighted there. You know which ones not to use. Those are the bullpens to target. He's talking about. Tristan's talking about. We've got on RotoWire. We have the chart. But what we're doing on a daily basis is looking at recent usage and rating who who might not be available. And I think it's on a daily league. It's invaluable. It's just so cool to pick up a couple points leagues. You just double down and you get both a hold and a save if that's what the league's requirements are. And it's not in the insider part, right? It's linked to our daily notes, which is free, which is nice.
Definitely something to check out. Well, and we'll always have which Brewer relief pitchers ready. Todd, I never asked you about who you were behind in the Brewers. McGill was my guy in the preseason before the injury. They're all very good pitchers. Payamps is the one I thought had the highest floor, lowest ceiling of the bunch. Abner Uribe is probably the future of it. He's got. I always have that fear of the who's the new Rex brothers. So I didn't really invest much in Abner Uribe unless he was a reserve pick in my drafts. But McGill was very interesting. Got to keep an eye on him.
I think it's hard. I mean, who I thought Milwaukee would choose was Payamps, but
that's who I thought too.
It was the strikeout rate that I didn't love. And you just put yourself up for vulnerability if you're not striking guys out as the closer.
Mm-hmm.
And even 2 seasons of 55 innings isn't enough. That's half a season of a starter. And you can't judge half a season of a starter. Well, at this point, it's 3/4 of a season of a starter, but it's still not enough. Relievers can just go, one bad outing. I thought it was Payamps for now, Uribe for the future, and McGill was I think he had the better skills, but I just wasn't sure which way Pat Murphy's going to go, and we still don't know.
Yeah.
So who's going to get the next save? We're not sure.
Payamps probably. I'm just saying McGill's one of the ultimate stashes to me right now. That's kind of where I'm going with that.
No, for sure. So let's see. Any other? Do we have a couple more questions real quick? Simon Woods Richardson, is this year's Bailey Ober? Not everyone hated on Ober.
Yeah,
not everyone.
I know someone who didn't.
I know someone that didn't. I like Woods Richardson's context with Minnesota. I do think Minnesota's starting to show the ability to handle and manage pitching a little bit. Kansas City, Tampa. I think there's some teams that are starting to show that they're able to handle some pitching. So interested in Woods Richardson, and they don't have Dallas Keuchel this year. He's with Seattle now, right?
Oh, jeez. He signed with somebody. I don't even
Seattle.
remember. Was
it was Seattle. Yeah, but I just was mad last year that both Ober and Varland were like shunned in August for Dallas Keuchel.
They're trying to boost the VORP of their current rotation members.
Yeah. Anyway, so we got quick comment about Ceddanne Rafaela or Wilber Abreu. Wow.
Oh, that's right up your alley.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm right today. Right now, I'm more impressed. I think Wilber Abreu will be the better offensive choice, but I think Rafael's got the upside. He can little power, he can run. And it looks like Boston's going to leave him at shortstop and let Grissom just play second base based upon what they've been doing with Grissom in the minors on the rehab. He's been playing more second base. That makes sense. I mean, that's the future. Why weaken the infield even more by having Grissom move back and forth? I think, and then your shortstop there, Anthony Volpe, is impressing me every day.
He's been pretty good defensively. It's quite a contrast between those two teams.
Yeah,
I mean, in Boston, it's defense, schmefense, but I like both of those guys, Rafaela and Abreu. I think they've both got their value. They both deserve to start somewhere maybe in time, not necessarily right now. Rafaela needs to adjust to big league pitching. And once he gets the hit tool down at the major league level, I think he's going to be a pretty darn good player.
No, I agree. But Volpe, you've seen almost every game, if not every game. The narrative in the preseason was he was looking for more contact.
Yep.
And maybe at the sacrificing power. But a lot of times what you see is once you learn that skill, you then can know when to turn on a ball and put it out. So that's what I'm hoping with Volpe. He's my score sheet team. So I traded Jackson Holiday even up for Anthony Volpe. So I'm kind of hoping whatever Holiday does is fine. It was my choice, but it's score sheet. So I think Volpe defensively and other reasons it's not as bad of a deal as it may sound to people out there right now. But I'd like to think that Volpe will not completely sacrifice power, that he's a good enough a player that he'll learn when he can turn on the ball and know when just to put it the other way.
Not entirely sure it matters in Yankee Stadium. I mean, he made the swing path change in the preseason. Very, very small, slight tweak. I sometimes think with things like that, it gives players greater confidence, and that alone helps. The other is that the park plays well, that even if you're doing the air quote sacrificing power, if you put it in the air with good contact in Yankee Stadium, good things can happen. And that's even true for right-handed hitters. It's great for lefties. It's still a plus park for right-handed hitters too. I'm pro Volpe. The only reason I'd pump the brakes on him is just did cool a little bit over the course of the summer. It's possible he's starting to build up one of those hot starting players who cools a little bit over the summer months. We'll see. It's just year 2.
No, that's true. And you're talking about it's still plus for right-handed hitters. This is where park factors get a little bit shaky in that the Yankees have got a couple of right-handed guys that can take advantage of the short porch. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that skews the numbers for those that can't. So, I mean, it's one of the reasons why park factors are 3-year averages and they don't apply to everybody linearly. But you can't include Stanton. When I did the study, Stanton was hitting homers. He's no longer contributing to this, but it does affect a little bit because the righties have the right-handed park factor takes into consideration that you can go opposite way a little easier too.
Just say it, Todd. Aaron Judge has some of the best opposite field power in the game. We all know it.
Oh, absolutely does. And when
he's just got to start showing it this year.
Right. What was the joke when the Mets were doing a reconfiguring right field, and they said it was for aesthetic reasons? No, it was because Aaron Judge is a free agent, and this is right field. It wasn't left field. But anyway, I did need to satisfy our sponsors. So I get to fumble through a couple of reads. No, I'm going to do them. Going to do them well. So hang in me with me, Tristan, and we'll get to some two-start pitchings in a moment. But first, I'd like to tell you some about Vivid Seats. Finally, baseball is back this MLB season. Knock it out of the park with Vivid Seats and score great tickets to the biggest games of the year. Every fastball, every home run, every eye-popping play of your favorite team live and in person. Plus, with Vivid Seats rewards, you earn rewards with every single purchase. Buy 10 tickets, then cash in your credit towards your free 11th ticket. Talk about an easy win. And here's a pro reward tip. When buying tickets for your whole group, split the bill and make progress towards your free 11th ticket even faster. From behind the dugout to the upper deck, Vivid Seats has great tickets for all 2024 games that matter to you. Just visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats. Experience it live. See vividstreets.com/rewards for terms and conditions. Now a little bit from our sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. You pick more or less on two or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. What I like about Prize Picks personally is the research we do for DFS or daily play. I'm kind of projecting strikeouts. I'm projecting total bases, and that's what the Prize Picks is all about. So it kind of goes hand in hand. I think it's kind of fun that I get to use my research for a couple different things. It makes it's fun that way. There's quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. No, toggle down, not up. Download the app today and use RotoPod, ROTOPOD, RotoPod for a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code ROTOPOD for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. I guess remember when you were learning how to read, and I'm never going to have to know how to do this. Oh, that was trigonometry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess we do have to learn how to read. But anyway, so I was doing my Prize Picks this evening once I figure out who's actually pitching tonight with some of these.
It'd be great if we didn't have, a daily scratch due to an elbow issue, wouldn't it?
Oh gosh, Jesus was out of this morning, and there's history there. There's always something to be concerned about, but there's some history with Luzardo. He's off to kind of a slow start too, and hopefully it just turns out to be nothing but,
fastball wasn't so hot either. To my point about checking if anything's different.
Yeah, you talked about Kevin Gausman earlier. Velocity's down, but the splitter isn't. I don't do the pitch modeling like Saris does. Some of those, like the next level analysis. I can just look at the results, the WOBA and the swing strike, and his changeup. Gausman's changeup just isn't as effective, and that's his bread and butter. He came out and said, "I'm 88 to 98. Don't worry about my velocity." Well,
that was after the 91 game against the Yankees.
Yeah,
I remember that one. If he doesn't have the fastball, he can't use the splitter. The splitter has no effectiveness. Hitters are ready for it. That's his biggest issue. It was like Tanaka back in his prime days.
Right. No, exactly. And so you're right. So they say the splitter's not effective. It may not just be the splitter's not effective, like you're saying. It could be the fastball as well. And that was down a tick. And it's another one of these. You probably have the same folder. It's on my desktop labeled, "Yeah, right," like you'll ever do this. I want to. Something tells me this is already out there.
But I think folder, right?
Yeah. I think going from like 98 to 97 or 97 to 96 isn't as detrimental as going like from 94 to 93 or 93 to 92, because the league average is like 92 to 94. So if you fall into the league average, I think it hurts you more than if you just lose them. Maybe intuitive, but I like to look at numbers too.
I didn't
So,
extensively look at this, but about 5 to 8 years ago, I checked that, and it was around 92.5 where you saw a distinct change in the split.
and that's pretty much league average, right? I mean,
Yep.
so it's
Well, I think the league average is over that now. That's why I'm saying 5 to 8 years
okay,
ago. I should
right.
reevaluate that now.
Yeah, no, because the point it's once you're like everybody else, it's a lot easier. People are they're used to it. All right. So what we're gonna do, folks, is what Clay and I usually do is we're gonna evaluate 2 start pitchers. But what I'm gonna ask Tristan when he and I try to do this when I'm the second guy. But what Tristan does is he ranks the 2 start pitch. We ranks everybody for ESPN, but it's in points formats.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we forget that 3 out of 4 players play points. And I know that maybe 3 out of 4 that are listening to us or using our information maybe don't, but 3 out of 4 play. Sometimes we don't get the not so much recognition, but the attention. So if we're gonna rank 5 by 5, but if some of the guys you feel, just point out when someone's better for points or something like that. We kind of add a little something to the information. All right, so these are subject to change, everybody.
They are? No, they're all set in cement. Come on.
We do the best we can. You do that. We update our stuff every day because there are changes every day for next week. And it's frustrating. But when we set our lineups on Monday, all we can do is go on the information that's available. It's all you can do. So that's what we're doing now. It's a little early. Some of these are subject to change. Well, I mean, some of these are not even subject to change, but just kind of guesses. But we'll go through them.
Subject to injury replacement. Yep.
I gotcha. And how many times we just wanted to give them, and especially now, we just want to give them an extra day. There were more starts on 5 days rest last year than there were on 4. It wasn't a ton more, but there were more. Yeah. I don't think we can no longer write standard 4 days rest in our pieces. You got to get rid of standard. I'm
noticing that any team that has a young pitcher on an innings cap, Pittsburgh, I'm looking at you, is shifting towards 6 starters when it's 6 days in a row.
And with the schedule the way it is, you can still get 32 starts.
Mm-hmm.
You can still get 32 starts. That's why Michaelis went 34 last year because he didn't skip any days and was able to get 2 extra starts. I'm not sure that's a good thing for Miles Michaelis, but anyway. All right, so let's start with Arizona. We have Tommy Henry. Start with an easy one, huh? Versus home against the Dodgers and home against San Diego. We go 0-5. And
right. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember the ratings game.
Yeah. We go 0-5. And I think we actually had a couple negative ones this year. And I gave Tanner Houck a 6 one day. But we go 0-5. And a loose way of thinking about it doesn't have to be exact, is if you're in 5 leagues, how many would you start this guy?
If I'm in 5 leagues,
if you're in 5 leagues, how many would you start him in 0 or out 5?
I'd start him in 0. He's the lowest ranked guy
in general. Yeah.
He's the lowest projected guy by the forecaster this week.
Henry's pretty easy.
You know why? Because the first is the Dodgers, and that alone.
Yeah, and even with a soft bottom 4 in their lineup, it's scary. It's scary.
When that's the chance you're only going to get that start, especially, it's a 0.
Right. We talk about that too. Is when you make these decisions, the second start is not guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
How many times he's like, I ranked Tyler Glass now number 1 last week because he was going to get 2 starts. I think 3 weeks in a row, and he finally got him. But anyway, Atlanta, Max Fried on the road against Seattle and on the road against the Dodgers.
There's a guy where roto and point scoring is going to deviate just a little bit. He's going to be more attractive, I think, in roto than he is in points for this particular set of matchups. I'll give him a 4 here because we're talking the 5 by 5. I might do the same for points, but I might do 4 and change and 4 minus change in the point scoring.
A little bit, as you know, depends on the format.
Yeah,
points, which is why one of the reasons why points doesn't get the attention is because there's so many different scoring formats. It's not uniform. And I think what you're referring to is the chance of getting negative against the Dodgers, for instance, where some sites you lose more for hits, more for runs relative to other sites, and innings and strikeouts don't count as much. So I think it's you want me to rank a guy in points. It's like which system you're going to use. And then by the time we get done rattling up the points, move to the next caller, and it doesn't work out so well. I'm giving him a 4. I think Fried's a 5 pitcher, and he looked good his last time out.
Yep.
But I guess I'm just one more time. I'm starting him. I'm starting him.
The weird thing with this is that bad strikeout matchup and great strikeout matchup.
Yeah.
And he's not really a strikeout guy.
Right. Seattle, I haven't checked. Did they strike out a little bit less than they did early?
Not by much. They're still top 3 easy in the league.
This it's ugly. All right. That's because they faced the Red Sox that first series. Good Lord. Who's still left? All right. Grayson Rodriguez home against the Yankees at Cincinnati, and Dean Kramer has the same pair of matchups.
Yep. And there's the little question here about the John Means and Kyle Bradish rehab patterns. They're not looking great. So I'd say right now, these two look pretty likely to make those starts. They did push Grayson back for rest. So just be a little cautious there. I will give Grayson a 3 in this one. There are a couple leagues in which I would not play him. Kramer's probably going to be about the same for me.
I'm admittedly aggressive, which is why I admittedly don't win as many leagues as I should. I'm still going to go with this. I'm still going to go with a 4. And
on both?
Kramer, I'm going to go 2.
Okay.
I'm kind of where I am with Gradish in that, he's probably good, but I don't know that it's enough time yet. And last year I got burned with waiting too long to say, you know what, Kyle Bradish is actually pretty good. So the Red Sox have an off day, and who knows if Cooper Criswell will get 2 starts, but he's home against the Giants, and he's at Minnesota. Now, you may be the same way with Yankee Stadium. I sometimes, having watched Fenway all these years, I sometimes forget that it's the second highest, embellishes runs only next to Coors Field. Maybe you are more in tune to that than, I kind of, I watch people pitch in Fenway Park all the time. So I'm kind of immune to that. I just wonder how much other people take that into consideration.
You're absolutely correct. So when you mention, I'm thinking of in terms of target field, which is a little bit more hitting friendly than people think. But yes, Fenway's grading 7% over league average for runs.
And I sometimes forget or just don't think about it. I hear other people talk about, I don't want to start a guy in Fenway. I'm thinking the Red Sox aren't that good. No, it's the park.
You know why it is, right? For all the viewers, listeners, readers, etc. You know why it is.
Oh, it's the it's the Bucky Dents that those aren't Babbitt, but yeah, it's just the hits, and it's not just the wall, but the left fielder can play in and take away the little dunks, and
then right field is cavernous for his hit.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. All right, Cooper Criswell home against San Francisco, at Minnesota. He's not a 0.
He's a 1 for me.
Yeah, he's not a 0. I guess I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 1. Minnesota's Correa's coming back. Kepler's back, and hitting pretty well. So I guess we're gonna match up with 1s. Jamison Tyone at the Mets and home against Milwaukee, and Javier Assad has the same pair.
He's going to be at 20 for me because I have him in my points league. No, I'm kidding. Tyone is that just middle of the road, average every time kind of guy that I just can't think matchups that kind of don't matter to me. It's like 3 right down the middle. Don't feel any better. Don't feel any worse. I felt like that about him for years. I look at those matchups and I say, yeah, it's still a 3.
I think Tyone's to me, he's like a knuckleballer in that you can't try to time him. You just have to leave him in there and accept what he's going to give you. If you try to get just the good starts, you may end up with a 4.5 ERA because I don't know that it's sometimes the opponent doesn't matter. I'm sort of glad you were with a 3 on Javier Assad. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Assad.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if I would be high with a 3. I am liking what I'm seeing there.
Actually, yeah. I might be tempted to go a step further on Assad than I would on Taillon. One note on this one, which was curious to me, based on it being a City Field start and the Mets here, and this is counting a projection for JD Martinez. That's graded a plus matchup, like a big time plus matchup in my projections. And that could help Assad with the upside.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, we just talked about Fenway and Coors Field. City Field is the best pitching park. Yeah, I like Assad more than Taillon too, but I can't. Some matchups I'll go lower with Taillon, but like you said, it's just right in the middle. Nick Lodolo has got a road start with the Padres, then home against Baltimore.
Yep. He's been pretty good so far.
Yeah.
I'm a little scared by the matchups. He's projected for what should be a 4. I'm feeling 3-ish. Just the gut talking there.
Yeah, no, I like, or I mean, you like when the guy's at home is an inherent skills advantage, but you don't like when home is a great American ballpark.
Right.
You know, you just don't. However, I mean, Baltimore can hit anybody, but there's enough left. Their better hitters are left-handed, so I'm gonna stick with the 4 with Lodolo. I'm gonna.
You can sell me on it. Yep.
I'm gonna go 4. Baltimore's just scary. It's just Baltimore's just plain scary.
Yeah.
The Guardians. I didn't put a buck in the jar this week. I called them the Guardians.
Yeah.
And that's having gone to school there, and it's been doubly tough for me to not use that other word. All right, Carlos Carrasco is at Houston and home against the Angels.
He's pitched better than I could have expected this year.
I didn't think
talking to Sim, having him in a Sim league. I know a good friend of ours has him, and he's getting absolutely destroyed based on last year's card. Houston stinks so far, so that might sell some people. And it's in Houston. That's not, that's bad for pull power for pitchers. But I think he's a 2.
I didn't think he'd still be in the rotation at this point.
Neither did I.
Nice
thought that was Gavin Williams' spot all the way.
And that there's been a setback there too, which isn't good. I understand Houston hasn't been good, but I think they will find a way. Maybe Mexico City is what they need. Who knows?
It's a battle of 19 lost teams, everybody. Exciting.
So how many times when we're doing our numbers, we get, because I got to change my park factors. Wait, it was supposed to be Colorado. I guess I really don't have to change them, and I won't be that far off. That was nice.
Yeah.
Like last year was like San Diego and the Giants. So it's like they're both.
What's interesting is if you take just the homers and everything else and flip them upside down, it works perfectly with Coors Field.
Okay,
it's going to be homer friendly, but not quite so absurd for extra base hits and runs.
Well, last year wasn't like a 16-11 one game, and the other one was like 6-4, something like that.
Yep.
Well, but these are better, air quote better offenses. We shall see.
Well, not the Rockies, but anyway.
Right, but they're still averaging 5 runs a game at home. It's nuts. it's still Coors Field 40% runs inflation. It's still.
And yet no hit through 5 innings the other day.
Yeah. Well, last night they scored 5 runs or 6 runs in the 8th inning that come from behind.
Big comeback.
We probably won't be taking, even though they're really good matchup. Well, you know what? Maybe we do need to think about it because Ryan Feltner's at Miami and at Pittsburgh, and he's probably available. See, someone would pick up in a 15-team league. Do we pick him up to stream?
With guys like this, volume based, he's probably making those starts. If Gomber pitches Sunday, it's highly likely to be a 2-start week. You mentioned the parks play favorably to him. The projections do say he's like a 2.5. There are worse places to go. I will tell you, I'm the guy who looked at a situation like this several years ago, Mark Hendrickson, and he got hurt in the first start in the first inning, and I wasn't very happy about how it went. So you've been warned.
I could see. I mean, to me, this is I'm not hesitating. If there's a maximum innings or maximum games started, I'm hesitating in a points league. But otherwise, I mean, I'm not hesitating.
I've got a league where it's start. That's all you want. You just want starts. And our standard game is a lot like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go one even so. I mean, I'm still just gonna. I mean, I can see there's if I'm playing 5 leagues, I'm gonna be moved to pick them up in one of them. I think with these matchups. You know what? Before we go on, we'll take another quick break for our podcast sponsor, and we'll be back in just a second. Okay, back with Tristan Cockcroft, my friend and colleague from ESPN, to knock off the rest of these 2-start rankings. Hoping Clay has a fun time away, spending some time with family this weekend. We'll be back next weekend. I think he's off doing draft coverage myself. I think he's undercover doing some draft coverage. Clay, who probably, he you know what? He is a football fan. I was going to say he can't even spell QB, but he can. That was our joke with him. Was he's off doing draft coverage?
Aren't we all at this time of year?
I mean, RotoWire and ESPN. We're both very stock full of people who can handle draft coverage.
Yeah,
that was weird to me last night. I'm not used to turning the draft on like early to see who the Patriots take. It's a little bit odd. And then I when are they going to trade down? Oh wait, they's not there anymore. And I guess they was on the radio or TV, like not liking the Patriots pick. But anyway, that's a story for another day. All right, we got Garrett Crochet. No 2-start pitching. The White Sox are going. Well, actually, there's a good chance.
That's because of the Clevenger projected return,
right?
Which we don't know yet,
and we don't know if Jonathan Cannon will stay in the rotation. What do you do with Crochet? 3 outstanding starts, then 3 not so outstanding starts.
Yeah, and so he gets the rematch outing here. Not a great outing against the Twins. And if you saw, I refreshed the data that last year repeat matchups did not go well in the slightest. This is if you're getting some sort of great reward for Ks, okay. Otherwise, I'm probably like a straight 3 on him, maybe.
Right. Well, I mean, he's not. Won't get this right, but yeah, he's someone that you start him this week, and even in a single league, and I think it's tough. If nothing else, he's more of a global reminder. Let's not get too overboard on a hot start early in the season. We wanted to with Crochet because the narrative and the story is so fun, but it's just we just need to. I would probably use him just because. You don't like that's not a home matchup, but when home's Chicago, it's not so great. Kenta Maeda, of all the guys we could talk about in Detroit, it's Kenta Maeda, right?
Yeah.
Home against St. Louis and on the road against the Yankees. Seemed to turn things around a little bit. Doesn't have the strikeouts yet, but at least the surface stats were palatable last time.
Yeah. And I'm still, I got a couple shares of him. I really thought he was going to have a solid year, certainly better than we've seen so far. And there's time, but I don't see these as great rebound matchups. It's probably 2 and change. I'm giving him a 2 here, in part because that Yankee matchup scares me a bit.
Yeah. And it's for a minute, it looked like Giancarlo Stanton was going to start to make some noise. It seems to have gone the other way again. He was finally at a point where I thought the price was right to draft Stanton.
Yeah.
Because you're not married to it. And you could play the matchups. And that hasn't even worked out so far. So, anyway. Houston, Hunter Brown, home against Cleveland, home against Seattle. Not the worst. Because it is home.
He's been the worst.
Yeah. I mean, Cleveland, though, 5 runs a game. Another team, 5 runs a game. Wow.
There's some Ks there because of that Mariners matchup, but I wasn't a Hunter Brown guy this year at all, just to be straight with you. I know it's easy to say it now, but he went for a price I wasn't comfortable with, and I haven't seen enough in the metrics to suggest that the breakthrough is imminent. It certainly doesn't look like it recently. This is the best case scenario for him in terms of matchups for the week, and I'm still like a 2 on him. I'm probably solid
too
2, maybe below.
Clay and I are often like we're too much alike. I wondered, because I'm with it too as well. I wasn't all that into Brown, and I think you said it exactly. It wasn't so much not into Hunter Brown; it was at the price. He was the market liked Hunter Brown, and I was just a little bit skeptical.
Right. Thought he'd be better than this for sure.
Yeah, well, that one outing is going to sting for a while, but even so, it's not like Bailey Ober, who had that one outing, has been pretty darn good ever since. Brown's had a couple of mishaps along the way. Daniel Lynch, we haven't listed. Is he being called up? Are we expecting him to be called up?
So they're in that situation with it's Alex Marsh was a line for the 2 starts. And he's hurt. So we don't know who it's going to be. Lynch is only listed there because they don't really have a great alternative.
Right.
It's an at Toronto and Texas pair for a likely fill-in.
Yeah, I'm a 0. That's without looking to see what Lynch is doing on the farm.
I don't think it makes much of a difference with those matchups. I'd have to see evidence. 0 for me.
Yeah. All right. The Angels, Griffin Canning and Griffin Canning. Let me read the bottom. Home against Philly and at Cleveland.
Yep.
Sometimes I have to remind myself that Angel Stadium is not the pitching park that it's
correct.
That it sometimes people think it is.
Correct. And especially for lefty power, and the Phillies have it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I like Canning. I like Canning as a pitcher. Not impressed by the returns so far. This is a keep on my bench, evaluate for future fantasy utility. And another one who grades at about the 2 level. I might go 2.5 on him, but he's a probable 2.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of if you're not going to start him during a 2-start week, why is he on your roster? He kind of could be that exception. Although, I mean, I also think that Cleveland's a little over their skis right now. I'm going to go 1. I don't know. I'm just going to go 1. We got to be different somewhere. James Paxton at Arizona and home against the Braves.
And in this case, because of what we talked about with 6-man rotations, they're guaranteed 6-man with Yamamoto going Wednesday. So I'm not positive Paxton's on the Monday game. Walker Buehler will be back. There's some question about whether Paxton makes 2 starts.
Yeah. Well, if he only makes, if you put him in there, you got Arizona. Well, yeah. We'll know by Sunday. I think the thing with Buehler is he was good but not great during his rehab start yesterday.
Right.
He's up to 85 pitches, which but I think let's get him more effective. On the other hand, I may or may not just written this for ESPN. On the other hand, it was in Albuquerque. Right. So you care more about 85 pitches and 94 miles an hour, or that he gave up 7 hits and 4 runs, or whatever it was.
Right.
I think so. I think that's going to be the decision.
Velocity and pitch count were what counted. What I'm concerned in his case is also. By the way, I don't remember when his stint expires. You have a cap on the number of days for the rehab stint. The concern I have with Paxton against Arizona is that Arizona crushes lefties, doesn't hit righties for the life of it. That's because Corbin Carroll's struggling. It's going to change. They'll be better against righties soon. But I give that at best a 2, just because I think it might be your only start for Paxton.
Yeah, that's so weird. I mean, because the Red Sox for years were, you'd think they'd be great against lefties, but they weren't. They were just so right-handed. Left-handed splits are so, they can change in a dime. Even midway through the year, I don't know that I believe left-handed splits.
They just have an awful lot of righties who can counter and match up in the lineup. That's,
we got Miami, and we mentioned Luzardo's out. We still have him in there. He could be not in there by Sunday. We have more, may have more information. It does look like Trevor Rogers is going to get a start. So we'll go with Luzardo home against Colorado and at Oakland. There's not a better matchup than being a lefty against Colorado.
Right.
Historically. So I think
them away from Coors too.
Right. Oh, definitely away from Coors. If you only wager against using a left-handed starter at home against the Rockies, you'd be plus right now. It's just, and I know it's a different team every year, but it's just one of those weird things. I'm using him. I'm going to give Luzardo. I can't give him a 5. I'm going to give him a 4 if he does start.
And if he doesn't, by the way, Braxton Garrett keep tucked away. It is a possibility he gets activated for that.
He can get moved up.
By the way, Rodgers for me is a 4. I like these matchups that much.
Yeah, I do too. Especially like we just said, lefty against the Rockies is always a good thing. Milwaukee. So we've got Bryce Wilson twice. That got to be as an opener, I would think.
No, I think they've stretched him out a little bit.
Or piggyback situation, maybe. Home against Tampa, at the Cubs.
They're another team that goes historically 6-man, but because of the injuries, they're running on 4 days rest for this weekend stretch. Not confident in the 2 starts for anybody necessarily. Wilson's kind of a 1 for me. I just don't think there's volume.
No, exactly. I mean, we don't know who's closing, but we know they have a good bullpen. So I don't think they'll force Wilson to go too far in. Joe Ryan at the White Sox, home against Boston. Don't love the matchups, but Ryan's missing bats.
You don't love the matchups?
Well, I like half of the matchups.
Right, exactly. And that's what makes it. He's a 5 for me.
Yeah, no, he's a 5 anyway. Yeah. Yeah. No, and he's had at least one blip, but he's still been pretty good. And in a year where injuries and performance, I mean, Ryan's done what he's supposed to do. I think it's fine. Mets, Luis Severino, home against the Cubs and on the road against Tampa and Shamanaya with the same matchups.
Yeah, and Severino's been pretty decent so far. And I watched a little bit of him during spring training. He's showing similar signs to that. On the whole, positive for him. Pretty positive, I'd say, for Manaya as well. Would I go to 4 on the 2 of them? I'd probably go 4 on Severino and 3 on Manaya.
I'm going 3 and 2. I like what I'm seeing from Severino, for sure. But the Cubs are a little bit dangerous. A little bit. Pete Crow Armstrong, we'll see how much he lasts. I mean, Bellinger may come back as a first baseman. We don't know right now.
Revenge game for Crow Armstrong, isn't it?
Well, there we go. There we go. But Manaya, he should be better. He should be better. But I've been saying that for 3 years.
Manaya is one of those who is going to be more attractive for points than for Roto in this case.
Yeah. All right. So the Yankees, Clark Schmidt on the road against Baltimore, home against the Tigers, and Nestor Cortez with the same pair.
Cortez looked really good at home until that game yesterday.
And he looked good early. He just kind of.
Cortez and Rodon have been a little bit, I'm talking pitch by pitch. They've been a little bit up and down, but on the whole, positive. I'm just not all in yet. Probably more so in Cortez compared to value. I think I'd give Cortez a 4 despite the Baltimore matchup. Schmidt's kind of a 3 for me.
Again,
and I might be a homer here.
I'm 2-3-2-3. That's what I'm about to write down. I'm 2 for both.
2 for both. Wow. Okay.
No, wait. 3 for Cortez. No. Yeah. Okay. 2-3-2-3 is yeah. So I'm 3 for 3 for Cortez. Joe Boyle, 2 starts, home against Pittsburgh, home against Miami. He's probably available in a lot of leagues.
Gets Ks.
Gets strikeouts. He can throw the ball through a wall if he can hit the wall. One of those guys.
Points league opportunity. This is probably the most dramatic split between points and Roto. He's projected as the 14th best out of the 29.
2 start. Yeah. I mean, if I need to make up some ground and I'm not going to make it up otherwise, boy, I don't know that there'll be a better matchup ever. There's just not a lot of 2-start matchups of guys available. Pittsburgh and Miami. I mean, to me, it's a
3 and change for me. He's over Feltner.
Yeah. I was going to say, do I go 2 or 3? I'm using them. It's just where am I actually going to rank him? I'm going to go 2, but I'll be up front. I'll pick him up. I'm using, I'll be using him.
On the out there in a large number of leagues, it's Rogers, Boyle, Feltner of the three we've talked about so far.
I mean, I saw Boyle, and it's like, I'm not an expert in this. I don't pretend to be, except I'm about to pretend to be, I guess. There's a lot of moving parts in his motion. Like, just get it under control. Then the next day, Alex Wood pitched. I'm like, oh well, so much for that advice. Yeah. But on the other hand, Mason Miller was talking about how once he learned to consolidate his motion a bit, he talked about it last night on MLB Network as part of his success. And when he throws the ball 99, it's like, he's losing velocity. It's scary. Billy, Christopher Sanchez. We're gonna have to. I got work to do. I know you do too. So let's pick it up a little bit. Christopher Sanchez, home against the Angels, home against the Giants. I'm at the 5 point first. I know he had a little bit of struggle last time. I'm impressed.
I like that you're a 5. I'm thinking, how optimistic should I be here and settling on 4? I like the boldness. I think I'm still a 4 with him. Okay, I need to see consistency start over start.
That's true. But we talked about the right-handed starters struggling and potentially as a lefty. All right, just keep Trout in the yard and we'll deal with the rest. Mm-hmm. Bailey Falter at Oakland, home against Colorado. Lefty at home against Colorado. We've talked about that.
Yep.
I mean, to me, Clay and I just go 0 without even thinking about it. I'm thinking about it now. It's not a 0.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2.
I'm trying to find where exactly he had projected. Did I not have him qualified there? Oh, I know. Okay.
We don't. This is okay.
On the matchups. On the matchups, I'm a 3. I'm probably ahead of Boyle with him. Okay. One note on that, because of Jared Jones and Quinn Priester, they have been looking at that 6-man rotation when they don't have a day off. They're in that right now, and that could mean everybody gets pushed back another day next week and Falter loses the Colorado matchup. It's possible. I just want that on the radar.
Absolutely possible. Not a lot, it's not as if they have a kid in the farm that could bring up to give him an extra day. I don't know.
Some guy I've never heard of that guy.
I don't know if James is listening, but he's like, James has been calling for Skeens' call up forever.
Yep. Probably since the day before he was drafted.
Right. Yeah. All right. Where were you in number-wise with Falter?
3.
There's a 3. Okay.
Yeah. But I like him. That's a pickup opportunity.
He's another guy that I think should be better than he's shown. I see stuff and it just hasn't come through. You can't call Matt Waldron a full-time knuckler, but he throws the knuckleball. Home against the Reds at Arizona.
Yeah, and he made me look bad with my knuckleballers at Coors Field.
Yeah,
which is kind of decent.
To me, I guess knuckleballers are to me, they're all 3s. And you just deal with it. I'm going to stick with that. I'm just going to say 3. I don't hate the matchup.
They're kind of 3s, Todd. How I'm going to liken it is I'll give you a 5 and he's going to give you a 1.
Yeah.
Or I'm giving you a 1 and he's going to give you a 5. I did not do well with Tim Wakefield.
Exactly.
I'm with you on your 3, air quote 3.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that'd be fun watching L.A. De La Cruz and the knuckleballer. He could swing twice at the same pitch. Okay, that's Seattle, so that has to be Bryce Miller. At home against Atlanta. Oh, this is an interesting pair. Home against Atlanta and at Houston.
Yep.
Where does Mr. Splitty land?
Yeah, and that's exactly what's changed. There's a guy who is what's changed. Matchups aren't great. Didn't have a great last start. I like the guy. I'm a very big Bryce Miller fan based on the adjustments this year. I'd go as far as to give him a 4 with confidence. The question is, how much further would I go?
Well, I know sometimes we say it's worth a 5, but he hasn't earned a 5 yet, so I'm going with 4. And that's kind of where I am.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants, maybe this is the pair that the lack of strikeouts catch up to Logan Webb. at Boston and at Philly. Surface stats are wonderful, but he's not striking anybody out. And I
Yep.
know he doesn't strike a ton of batters out, but it's even fewer than he usually does.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the pair where maybe things catch up? I'm using them, got to use them.
Possible. The projections hate the Boston, hate the Boston matchup, which means I think he's more problematic in points than Roto. I can't believe I'm giving Logan Webb a 4, because in the preseason I'd say, you got a 2-star week, he's an automatic 5, but I think he is a 4.
I think the lack of strikeouts bring him to a 4 for me. And I don't know if there was anybody higher on Logan Webb than I was, at least for fantasy purposes, but I have a soft spot for, maybe it's because I'm too NFP centric or whatever, the market, they just overpay for strikeouts. And I'll take the ratio guy that doesn't get quite as many strikeouts and find my strikeouts later.
Or you just draft the whole Twins rotation.
Yeah, there we go. But yet, for whatever reason, the market loved George Kirby, and he's in that low strikeout range. But anyway, Steven Matz at Detroit and then home against the White Sox. I'm not.
Do you like half those matchups?
Yeah, I'm not a Matz guy. I'm not a Matz guy. I'm gonna go 2, but I don't know.
I'm a big jerk who has never liked Steven Matz. I just don't see it. I've never seen it. I might have the first year because everybody was all excited as a prospect. And I keep telling people, pick your prospects, not me. But I like the matchups. And because of the matchups, I'd give him a 3.
Okay. Ryan Pepio at Milwaukee and home against the Mets. Don't love at Milwaukee, but this may be like a 3.6, which means I have to round up to 4.
This should probably be one of those money where mouth is, because projections love him, and I heart Ryan Pepio.
Yeah.
Hard for me to say 5 there. I'd be happy to give him 4.5.
Okay. The DVR was lenient when I did this years ago with Derek. He was lenient. He was an easy grader. All right, John Gray home against Washington and at Kansas City. He's been more down than up, but he did have an up stage in the middle, and it's still early, but
yep.
You gotta like these matchups.
They're very high ceiling Roto, not quite to the extent you think points. I'll give him the 4 based on that. Yeah, it would drop a little in points.
No, I agree. For sure. Here's one. We don't know. We don't know about Gausman. We don't know about Rodriguez, who has replaced Bowden in the rotation, who's now on the IL. Another one of I like this guy. Probably should have him on my bench, but didn't. And he's on the IL now, so I get to take him out, Francis Bowden. But Yariel Rodriguez, home against KC and at Washington.
Yep.
He's
good pair of matchups.
He's at least 5 innings now, right? I would not much more,
right?
But I think he can give you 5.
It was 69 pitches the last outing. He's been 4 at most in each of the 3 starts. The workload is really what I'm most concerned about here. They're going to keep a tight leash on him. Means he could possibly lose the second start. Probably is a 3 for me.
I think there's some strikeout potential. I'm going to go 3 as well.
He might be a 2 just based on volume. That's also a points league problem.
Right. Oh, that's true. Okay. I'm more. I'm not. I don't know if he's going to be pitching in August, but all we care about is next week.
Right.
If someone's going, should I pick up? You're high on him. Should I pick up Rodriguez? Not if you're in head-to-head league, because he's not going to be with you. In a head-to-head league. At least he shouldn't be. All right, one more. We've got. Interesting. Jake Irvin at Miami, home against Toronto, and Mackenzie Gore with the same 2. Irvin's on my track list, on my monitor list. He's showing signs, increased velocity, pitch mix a little different. So he's at least my, I want to watch him. Then I think he went out and had a poor outing last time.
Yeah, he did.
But the second one's at home, kind of a sneaky good park against Toronto.
Yep.
I'm at a 2 with Irvin. That may be too optimistic.
It's possible. He projects pretty well because of the Miami matchup. In the right park in Miami. He by the way has crushed my rematch stats thing because he got crushed by the Dodgers in the rematch outing. Yeah, I'd say I think they're probably both 2.5 because I like Gore's matchups less than I like Irvin's.
Actually, Gore's got Texas.
Yeah.
It must be a wraparound, which I'd rather face Miami than Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
I like Gore better as a pitcher of the two of them.
For sure.
But the matchups bring it to about the same, and it's just sub 3 for me.
All right.
2.5.
So go. All right. We'll go 2 and 2.5. All right. We are behind. So we will eschew reviewing the picks this time. Apologize for that. We both got to get out of here. And there's a siren coming to get me anyway. As you know, we could do this for hours, and sometimes we do. Just not over the air. Thanks a lot, Tristan, for helping out, for pinch hitting for Clay. I know Clay appreciates it.
My pleasure.
And it's always great catching up. And I'm sure we'll speak soon. Probably not till Monday, but we'll speak soon. And always enjoy talking to you. And thanks. And everybody, thanks for checking it in. And Clay will be back next week, and I'll be back in the other seat. All right, everybody, thanks a lot.